Humans are the only primate that lost its fur. And it wasn't an accident. So why would a slow, naked ape give up the one coat that keeps every other mammal alive in the wild? Here's what the evidence shows. How bare skin and sweat became a hunting weapon, how it let us outlast prey that could outrun us in a sprint, and where scientists still argue about when it happened. Picture the central Kalahari at the hottest hour of the day, the kind of heat that makes the air shimmer over the sand. A lone hunter is moving at a steady jog, not sprinting, just keeping pace, hour after hour. Ahead of him runs a kudu, an antelope built to bolt in bursts that should leave any human standing. But the hunter is still coming an hour in, then 2 hours in, and the kudu is starting to falter. This isn't a thought experiment, it's a real practice, recorded by the anthropologist Louis Liebenberg among Kalahari sand hunters who still ran prey down in the modern era, sometimes for the better part of a day. A single hunt can stretch 20 to 40 kilometers, and it's deliberately timed for the most punishing part of the day, when the ground radiates heat back up into the legs of the animal. The hunter doesn't need to be fast. He needs to be patient, and he needs to never stop. The chase doesn't end with a wound, it ends when the animal collapses on its own, with no injury at all. The kudu is faster in every single burst it takes, and by that measure alone, it should win every time. But it doesn't. Hunt after hunt, generation after generation. The slower animal is the one that walks away, and the faster one is the one left on the ground. Therefore, speed isn't actually what decides this chase. Something else is, and it isn't written in anyone's legs. The secret isn't in the hunter's legs. It's sitting on his skin. Quick pause here. If a hunting weapon hidden in your own skin just surprised you, that's exactly the kind of moment this channel is built around. The story behind something you thought you already understood. Subscribing means the next one doesn't slip past you. Now, back to the savannah, because the fastest animal alive is about to lose, and not for the reason you'd guess. Hold that image next to a cheetah, the sprint specialist of the savannah. A cheetah can hit extraordinary top speed, but only for roughly 20 seconds before it must stop or risk cooking its own organs. Antelope and kudu work the same way in a different register. They bolt, recover, bolt again, and each recovery gets a little shorter as heat piles up inside them. Here's what actually decides the outcome. Every sprint generates a burst of heat, and that heat has to go somewhere before the muscles can fire again. The faster the burst, the bigger the spike, and the longer the recovery it demands. But most mammals have only one real way to shed that heat: panting. And panting is a throttled system tied directly to the rhythm of breathing, so it shuts down exactly when the animal needs it most. You can't pant hard and gallop hard at the same time, because both compete for control of the same lungs. Therefore, an animal built to sprint is also an animal forced to keep stopping just to breathe its way back down to a safe temperature. Its cooling system and its running system take turns. They never run together. A human's cooling system works nothing like that. Sweat pours out across the entire skin and evaporates continuously, whether the lungs are working hard or not. It doesn't compete with the legs for anything. Therefore, the animal built for bursts carries a cooling system that breaks down under pressure, while the slow ape carries one that keeps running no matter how long the chase goes. The edge wasn't speed, it was heat, and the machinery behind it is stranger than it sounds. The numbers are where this gets genuinely strange. Humans carry somewhere between 2 and 4 million eccrine sweat glands, with densities up to around 600 per square centimeter on the palms and soles, and high density across the entire body surface. No other primate comes close. We're the sweatiest animal on Earth by a wide margin, and most people never think about what that actually means. An eccrine gland does one thing. It secretes water onto the skin, and as that water evaporates, it pulls heat away from the body. It's a liquid cooling loop, and unlike panting, it runs continuously instead of in bursts. That's the whole mechanism, and it's the reason a running human can stay in motion while a running antelope cooks from the inside. But here's the twist that makes the system look engineered rather than accidental. Eccrine glands are ancient. Other primates already had them, mostly on their hands and feet, where they helped with grip on branches and dampened the skin for a better hold. The glands weren't new. What was new was the human body repurposing them, spreading them across the entire body surface, and turning a grip system into a full-body thermostat. Therefore, the cooling weapon wasn't built from scratch. It was stolen from an older function and scaled up, which is exactly how evolution tends to work, reusing existing parts instead of inventing new ones from a blank page. If sweat does the cooling, we shouldn't still have hair at all. The familiar line is that humans lost their fur. That line is misleading, and the correction is one of the more satisfying details in the whole investigation. Humans didn't lose their hair follicles. Our follicle count is comparable to a chimpanzee's, roughly the same density across the skin. What changed is the type of hair. Thick terminal fur, the kind that traps heat and holds it against the body, was replaced by fine, short vellus hair across most of the surface. So we aren't less hairy than a chimp by follicle count. We're just as hairy, and the hair simply changed form. That distinction matters because it tells you what selection was actually doing. It wasn't deleting the coat, it was converting it, keeping the structure and discarding the insulation. But thick fur is exactly what a cooling system can't use because it traps sweat against the skin and stops evaporation from pulling heat away. Therefore, the follicles stayed while the insulation layer thinned, leaving bare skin that lets sweat spread and evaporate freely. The vellus hair still does useful work, wicking moisture outward and sensing movement on the skin without locking in heat. The body didn't throw the coat away. It stripped it down to the parts that helped and removed the part that was killing the cooling loop. And the skin change is only half the story, because the body doing the running had to change too. Sweat and skin explain how a human kept running for hours in the first place. That part sits in the skeleton, and it shows up in the fossils of Homo erectus around 1.9 to 2 million years ago. The package is specific, and each piece solves a problem that walking doesn't create. A long Achilles tendon stores and releases elastic energy with every stride, saving roughly a third of the metabolic cost of running. And chimpanzees don't have one. A neutral ligament steadies the head against the jolt of each footfall, keeping the eyes level while the body bounces. Every one of these traits is useless unless you're already running, which means selection wasn't rewarding the ability to stroll, it was rewarding the ability to keep going. Long legs relative to body size, short toes, and an enlarged gluteus maximus all show up together in the same fossils, and none of them help much with a casual walk. Daniel Lieberman and Dennis Bramble laid this out in a 2004 Nature paper, arguing that endurance running, not just walking, reshaped the Homo body. But here's the part that locks the argument together. Bipedalism alone doesn't explain a long Achilles tendon or a head-stabilizing ligament. Walking doesn't need them. Running does. Therefore, the body, the skin, and the glands appear to have evolved together as one integrated heat and endurance system. A slow animal engineered to never stop in the heat. And that's where a tidy answer becomes the moment a careful viewer starts asking what it leaves out. There are rival explanations for hair loss, and they deserve a fair hearing before this gets called settled. One says it was about sexual attraction, that bare skin simply became preferred. Another is the aquatic ape story. which imagines ancestors living partly in water and shedding fur the way seals and hippos did. Both sound plausible in isolation. But when you actually model them, the cooling account explains more. Graham Ruxton and Mark Wilkinson published a paper in 2011 that quantified the cooling advantage of hairlessness plus sweating for a bipedal hominin in open savanna heat. Their numbers accounted for the full picture better than sexual selection or the aquatic story, and thermoregulation didn't need a second motive layered on top. Therefore, the rivals aren't wrong to exist, but they explain less, and a single strong cause beats two weak ones. That said, this is also where honest uncertainty lives. An active debate asks whether endurance running evolved for hunting live prey or for reaching scavenged carcasses before other predators, and a recent ethnohistorical review leans toward scavenging. Soft tissue like sweat glands and hair doesn't fossilize, so the 1.2 million year genetic estimate for when bare skin needed dark pigment protection is inferred, not observed. Whether hair loss came before or after the running anatomy is still argued. The cooling weapon thesis holds, but is a strong inference, not a closed case. And that gap between what we think we know and what the record actually shows is the most interesting place in this whole story. We lost our fur and gained a weapon, the ability to outcool anything we chose to chase across the heat. Every time you sweat, you're running a machine that built our species. If that reframes what you thought humans were, subscribe, because the next mystery is already open.